We are in the last few days of Ayam Safar tonight, and for next 2 days we will be holding 3 Majalis to commemorate the demise of our last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Shahadat of our beloved second Imam, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And shahadat of our 8th Imam, Imam Ali Ridha alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. First of all, once again we thank Almighty for granting us this opportunity to gather together and offer our condolences to all lovers of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, our Maraj Taqleed, ulama, and in particular our condolences go to our Imam al-Hujjah, Imam Mahdi Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our last prophet has said, the most beloved deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those which are done consistently, even if they are little. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us wisdom and understanding to understand these words and take lessons from it. Like I said, we're holding the first Majalis of the series of 3 Majalis. Tonight we'll be commemorating the demise of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We'll start the program with a recitation of Noble Quran. For that, I would like to welcome our young brother Jawad Najafi to please come forward. Please welcome him with a loud salawat.
Please recite salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم. أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فليعلمن الله الذين صدقوا وليعلمن الكاذبين. أم حسب الذين يعملون السيئات أن يسبقونا ساء ما يحكمون. من كان يرجو لقاء الله فإن أجل الله لآت وهو السميع العليم. ومن جاهد فإنما يجاهد لنفسه إن الله لغني عن العالمين. والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لنكفرن عنهم سيئاتهم ولنجزينهم أحسن الذي كانوا يعملون. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا وإن جاهداك لتشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لندخلنهم في الصالحين. ومن الناس من يقول آمنا بالله فإذا أوذي في الله جعل فتنة الناس كعذاب الله. ولئن جاء نصر من ربك ليقولن إن كنا معكم أوليس الله بأعلم بما في صدور العالمين. وليعلمن الله الذين آمنوا وليعلمن المنافقين. وقال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا اتبعوا سبيلنا ولنحمل خطاياكم وما هم بحاملين من خطاياهم من شيء إنهم لكاذبون. وليحملن أثقالهم وأثقالا مع أثقالهم وليسألن يوم القيامة عما كانوا يفترون. ولقد أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه فلبث فيهم 1000 سنة إلا 50 عاما فأخذتهم الطوفان وهم ظالمون فأنجيناه وأصحاب السفينة وجعلناه آية للعالمين. وإبراهيم إذ قال لقومه اعبدوا الله واتقوا ذلك خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. إنما تعبدون من دون الله أوثانا وتخلقون إفكا إن الذين تعبدون من دون الله لا يملكون لكم رزقا فابتغوا عند الله الرزق واعبدوه واشكروا له إليه ترجعون. وإن تكذبوا فقد كذب من قبلكم وما على الرسول إلا البلاغ المبين. أولم يروا كيف يبدئ الله الخلق ثم يعيده إن ذلك على الله يسير. قل سيروا في الأرض فانظروا كيف بدأ الخلق ثم الله ينشئ النشأة الآخرة إن الله على كل شيء قدير. صلوات الله.
Inshallah, a heartfelt recitation of Noble Quran by our young brother Jawad Najafi. For blessings in this life and hereafter, please recite a loud salawat for brother Jawad Najafi and his family. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brother Aslam Durrani will recite Salam and Marsiya in the honor of Ahl Bayt. Recite a loud salawat for him.
एक मर्तबा और जिक्र पढ़ लीजिए मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद हुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद का घराना करबला वाले बयाबा में मोहम्मद का घराना करबला वाले बयाबा में क़यामत की ख़िज़ा आई है ज़हरा के गुलिस्तां में क़यामत की ख़िज़ा आई है ज़हरा के गुलिस्तां में मोहम्मद का घराना करबला वाले बयाबा में مسلمانوں نے کیا لوٹا، جو لوٹا یہ کربلا میں، مسلمانوں نے کیا لوٹا، علی کی بیٹیوں کی چادریں آئی ہیں ساما میں، علی کی بیٹیوں کی چادریں آئی ہیں ساما میں، محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں، زمین کربلا اس کو ذرا آرام سے رکھنا، زمین کربلا اس کو ذرا آرام سے رکھنا، سلایا علی اصغر کو ہے شاہ نے تیرے داماں میں، سلایا علی اصغر کو ہے شاہ نے تیرے داماں میں، محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں، کہاں ہو تم علی اکبر ذرا آواز تو دینا، کہاں ہو تم علی اکبر ذرا آواز تو دینا، اکیلا رہ گیا ہے فاطمہ کا لال میدان میں، اکیلا رہ گیا ہے فاطمہ کا لال میدان میں، محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں، محمد کے گھرانے پر یہ کیسا انقلاب آیا، محمد کے گھرانے پر یہ کیسا انقلاب آیا، علی کی بیٹیاں اور شام کے تاریک زنداں میں، علی کی بیٹیاں اور شام کے تاریک زنداں میں، محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں، قیامت کی خزاں آئی ہے زہرا کے گلستان میں، صلوات فاتحہ۔ بیمار جب کہ احمد مختار ہو گئے، دشمن زیادہ در پائے آزار ہو گئے، زہر ستم سے موت کے آثار ہو گئے، صدمے اٹھا کے جینے سے بیزار ہو گئے، غل تھا جہاں سے نائب داور کا کوچ ہے، افسوس سوئے خلد پیمبر کا کوچ ہے،
افسوس سوئے خلد پیمبر کا کوچ ہے، شفقت سے فاطمہ کو بلا یا رسول نے، سمجھا کہ اپنے پاس بٹھا یا رسول نے، جب دامن بطول کو پا یا رسول نے، بستر کے بدلے اس کو بچھا یا رسول نے، سر رکھ کے اپنا زانوئے دو تر پہ سو گئے، راوی کا ہے یہ قول کہ بے ہوش ہو گئے، راوی کا ہے یہ قول کہ بے ہوش ہو گئے، ہوش آیا تو بلایا حسن اور حسین کو، لپٹایا اپنے سینے سے ہر نور عین کو، نانا کے غم میں کھویا نوا سونے چین کو، رو رو کے یہ سنایا شہ مشرقین کو، افسوس آج داغ جدا دکھاؤ گے، سنتے ہیں ہم یہ سب سے ہمیں چھوڑ جاؤ گے، سنتے ہیں ہم یہ سب سے ہمیں چھوڑ جاؤ گے، سر پیٹ پیٹ رونے لگی ہائے فاطمہ، بولی کس طرح نہ علم کھائے فاطمہ، جو حال دل ہے کس سے وہ دہرائے فاطمہ، افسوس اپنے باپ سے چھٹ جائے فاطمہ، اس غم سے آنسو ٹوٹ گئی دل ملول کی، آفت میں مبتلا ہوئی بیٹی رسول کی، آفت میں مبتلا ہوئی بیٹی رسول کی، رو رو حسن حسین یہ کہتے تھے بار بار، اب کون زانوؤں پہ بٹھا کر کرے گا پیار، نانا گلے لگاؤ نوا سے ہیں بے قرار، رونے جنہیں نہ دیتے تھے ہیں وہ اشک بار، کیا کیا غم و ملال نہ گھر دل میں کر گئے، جو ناز اٹھانے والے ہمارے تھے مر گئے، جو ناز اٹھانے والے ہمارے تھے مر گئے، رونے سے اہل بیت کے تھا حشر آشکار، دلوا محمدہ کی صدا سے ہوا فگار، گھر میں تو سب عزیز پیمبر تھے اشک بار، دروازے پہ کھڑے ہوئے روتے تھے جانثار، سنیے بھرے تھے سینے بھرے تھے رنج سے ماتم کو ہاتھ تھے، جبریل اشک بار فرشتوں کے ساتھ تھے، جبریل اشک بار فرشتوں کے ساتھ تھے، محشر بپا کیا جو صغیر و کبیر نے، سمجھایا ضبط کر کے جناب امیر نے، تدبیر غسل شاہ امم کی وزیر نے، نہلایا ان کو عاشق رب قدیر نے، گو حال غم سے غیر تھا زوج بطول کا، کفنا کے خود جنازہ اٹھا یا رسول کا، कफना के खुद जनाजा उठा या रसूल का। बीमार जब के अहमद मुख्तार हो गए। सलवात
Jazakallah, Brother Aslam Durrani. As usual, a heartfelt recitation in the honor of Ahl Bayt. For him and his family, Sehat and Salamti, please recite a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Azam Zainab se Sakina se dua सीखी है, अली असगर से तबस्सम की अदा सीखी है, करबला से न हटे हैं न हटेंगे हम लोग, करबला से न हटे हैं न हटेंगे हम लोग, हमने अब्बास दिलावर से वफा सीखी है. My sisters, I just have some quick announcements before I invite Maulana to address the Majalis. As you know, Baitul Ilm Sunday School Academy has been holding a food drive as we remember the thirst and hunger of the orphans of Karbala. Let's help those less fortunate in our own communities. Drop off non-perishable donations in the boxes located by the main entrance. And as we have been announcing throughout the months of Muharram and Safar, Baitul Ilm Sunday School registration is open. Register links are located on our website. For any questions, please email sundayschool@baitulilm.org. Ladies Majalis to commemorate the Shahadat of Imam Hassan, his family and companions has been going on throughout the months of Muharram and Safar. Next Majalis will take place tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. inshallah downstairs, and these Majalis are being addressed by Khanam Maryam Ali Tahir. Tonight's Majlis is being sponsored by the family of Marhuma Khalajan. For this family's Sehat, Salamti and Barakat, let's recite a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah. Let's recite a Surah Fatiha for all Marhum Mu'mineen and Mu'minat of this family and all Marhumin of the families who are present, in particular Marhum Muhammad Habibullah, Marhuma Ahmadi Begum, Marhum Mir Zainul Abidin, Marhuma Mehjabeen Begum, Marhuma Kausar Begum, and Marhum Imran Haider. Let's recite Surah Fatiha and 3 times Surah Ikhlas for their Isal Sabab, preceded by a loud salawat. Allahumma. Brothers and sisters, one of our community member who was a regular in our masjid and our programs, Brother Yusuf Mominijat, son of Ghulam Raza Mominijat, passed away in Iran today. You are humbly requested to recite a Surah Fatiha for his Isal Sawab as well. Tonight we're honored to host our visiting scholar, Hujjatul Islam Sheikh Mehdi Shakolai, to address the Majlis. Sheikh Mehdi Muhammadpur Shakolai is a PhD candidate at Georgetown University and a graduate of the Islamic Seminary of Qom, where he studied traditional Islamic studies for nearly a decade. He currently teaches Islamic and religious studies at Mizan Institute, Mufid Academy Seminary, and George Mason University. Now, without further ado, I would like to request Hujjatul Islam Maulana Mehdi Shakolai to please come to the minbar and address our community. Please welcome him with a loud salawat.
Dearest brothers and sisters, respected scholars, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على وعلى آله الأطيبين الأطهرين الهداة المهديين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما Alhamdulillah, it is a great honor to be extended this opportunity to share this majlis with all of you mu'mineen, mu'minat. And it's an important majlis, one that we are commemorating the demise, death anniversary of our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And considering where we are in the Islamic calendar, we are bidding farewell to the month of Safar, and of course these 2 months of Muharram and Safar. We have engaged in continuous Majalis, programming, acts of worship, opportunities for reflection, of learning, all of this with the intention of trying to better understand, better appreciate, better position ourselves towards that great invitation of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And to try and best derive its meaning and its application and the value for our day, our age, our lives, our communities. So towards the end of these 2 months, it's almost like we're coming full circle now, because in our studying of the statements of the Imam, in our analysis of the actions of the Imam, and in kind of retelling and revisiting and reanalyzing these events, we know, of course, at the core of everything that occurred was a simple message. And that simple message was the observation of the Imam, peace and blessings be upon him, that the Sunnah, that the way of living, the way of orienting oneself, the way of establishing connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is something that had become distorted, that had become less of a priority. And so the Imam saw not only an opportunity but an obligation to revive this. He did not bring anything new. He did not introduce anything different. He simply served as a reminder and as a testament to what it meant to live and practice the sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. So on this 28th of Safar, now that we're commemorating the death anniversary of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, we want to make sure that in our journeying too, that we're cognizant, we're aware, we appreciate that the Imam's direction was to help us also reorient ourselves towards the sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as it has been preserved and practiced through his beloved progeny, the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. I make this a point of emphasis because we want to make sure that we don't forget, and we teach this to our children and the future generations, that for us to remember and for us to hold the banner and the standard of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam is nothing different from holding the standard, the banner of Islam and the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. These two are not two unique, different, separate things. They are one and the same. And so our emphasis on these majalis, on these teachings, is all because we want to try and rediscover the sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. So if we think of the Husseini movement, if we think of the Husseini way, if we think of the Husseini path, we should say this is synonymous with what? The prophetic path, the prophetic sunnah, the prophetic vision, the prophetic mission. And of course we know when it comes to developing a hierarchy, although this is not really, I don't want to make this a point of theology, but it's also important that we, in our remembrances of the Imam, we don't forget the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. I'm not saying that we are or that we do, but I think it's important to make this point. So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, miraculously, through divine support, was able to accomplish something so grand in such a short period of time. He did not live a very long life, and his life as a prophet, as a messenger, was incredibly concise. If we compare to other prophets, if we compare to other messengers, he only lived 23 years in the position or the station of a prophet. And for him to be able to accomplish through the divine support and through the divine architecture what he did and what continues is nothing short of a miracle. So, as a part of that project, as a part of that initiative, as a part of that mission, again, if we reflect, at the core of it is what? At the core of it is to allow for the circumstances, the environment, the space to build true servants, worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means of any sort of deviation that may have occurred, any distraction, any misunderstanding, through the divine mission, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, comes and removes these barriers, these obstacles, and once again reintroduces a plane for all individuals to be able to realize their potential and work towards the realization of that potential with his support and of course with the divine support. So it is a project of what we call human building. It is a project of lending the program that allows each and every individual to understand their place in the world, the reason for their creation, the purpose of their creation, and then for them to be able to journey on that path of being able to realize that. So the Quran speaks about the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, in a number of different ways. And he has a number of different titles, and he's described with different descriptions. All of these are important to study. We know he's Nabi, we know he's Rasul, he is Ummi, and other things. Tonight I wanted to focus on two ayahs from Surah Al-Ahzab, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about some of these titles of the Prophet, which again helps us better understand the role and responsibility that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, played in that project of human building. And as those who are now even more aware, cognizant of what that prophetic sunnah, what that prophetic mission, what that prophetic project is, because we have engaged in almost 2 months of this reminder of the revival of the prophetic sunnah, what does that mean for us and what does that mean for our engagement of that mission? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ahzab addresses the Prophet saying, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuhan nabi, inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira wa da'iyan ila Allah bi'idhnihi wa sirajan munira. So the first, it addresses him as the Nabi. 5 different responsibilities or facets of the Prophet's responsibility are presented here. I'm going to introduce them, and I want to attempt to underscore why all of these are part of a coherent system of the prophetic human building, the prophetic framework for human building. and why this should be an important example for us when we also develop in programs of human building, bettering ourselves and training a generation of mu'mineen and mu'minat. So the first thing it says, Inna arsalnaka shahidan. Shahid, generally you'll see a translation as a witness. Shahid has many meanings. When we think of shahid, a lot of times we think of the context of a court of law, where someone is going to come and deliver testimony. They are a witness to something, so they come to give their testimony. So for someone to be a witness, what are some basic characteristics that they need to have? At the core, this individual, number one, if they want to give testimony on anything, they need to have been present there. A person cannot come and say, oh, I know, yes, this happened and that happened. And say, were you there? No, I wasn't. Okay, so you cannot be a witness. These two brothers engaged in some sort of financial transaction. I know, the amount was this much and the terms were this much. The judge will ask, were you there? Did you see? Did you hear? No, I heard. Okay, thank you very much. You can go about your day. So the person has to be present, first and foremost. And in that presence, there is, we take for granted that the person needs to be aware and paying attention and those things. But that's the first requirement. The second thing is what? The second thing is the person needs to have acquired that knowledge. I can be present but distracted. What was the Majalis about yesterday? Oh, yeah, I don't know. You were present, but maybe you were not observant. So for a person to be a witness, I don't even want to say a good witness, to be a witness they have to be observant. They have to have established some knowledge. Otherwise they come and they request their testimony, all of a sudden you see inconsistencies. Oh yeah, I think the terms was this, but maybe it's that. And the third thing, what happens, once they actually are able to satisfy these two things, then they have the capacity to serve as a witness, to give testimony, to be or present us some type of a truth, a proof, for them to deliver some sort of an evidence against a point. So in our example, again, someone says, yes, I was there, this was the contract, these were the terms, I remember them, I took notes, and I'm here to give testimony. Okay. Now, this is an important conversation. It exists in our corpus of Islamic law, and it has important applications. But my focus tonight is really not on that technical element of what it means to be a witness. I want us to focus on that kind of the higher level prophetic project of human building. When the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is introduced here as a witness, it means what? It means for him to be successful in this project of training, mentoring, coaching, supporting every individual in their journeying of bettering themselves, of appreciating their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of being able to grow. He has to, what? Be present. He has to be observant and have some knowledge. And what? He needs to deliver that testimony. He needs to deliver that proof. He needs to deliver that evidence. So we see in the example of the prophets, all of them, this is a divine sunnah, sunnatullah, that these prophets, these messengers were not just people who came and said, oh humanity, listen, this is the letter I received, and I have to deliver it to you, and my part is done. And so I did it once, you all heard it, okay. No. These were individuals that were in the people, a part of the people, engaging the people. Why? Because that's their role. That's their responsibility. That's their objective. It is not just to say, it is your business to do what you please. I'm here, I just want to deliver a message. No. I believe in this message. I'm here to execute this message. I'm here to support you in your adoption of this message and your realization of the truth of this message. So when the Quran speaks about prophets and our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, it says we chose an individual. هُوَ الَّذِي بَعَثَ فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ. We sent someone, we chose someone, a messenger from amongst yourselves. We wanted someone that would be successful in this process of human development. And because of that, we decided that if they were among the people, they would be most efficacious. If an outsider comes and all of a sudden delivers a message, you and I will say, well, that's nice and maybe it has merit, but ultimately you probably don't understand the particularities and the circumstances of our lives. And hence, there may be some merit to what you've said, there may be some nice things, we will extract some of it, but ultimately, you are not a good candidate to be able to designate what we should and shouldn't do. I don't want to go on tangents here, but I think most of us will appreciate this basic point. Even when it comes to issues of religious teaching, religious knowledge, religious practice, a lot of times we feel this friction, if you may say. But whatever it is, we know that the efficacy of this impact is much higher when a person is from them, among them. So other things are part of this the Quran speaks about. We send individuals that spoke that language, that appreciated that language, that vernacular, that culture. But also the Quran says, when we send someone, we didn't just send from among them. It says, لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا. Not just among them, but also with them. So the role of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as a witness to the people, who is going to be successful in his role as a witness, he needs to be someone that is not only from among the people, but in the people, with the people, amongst the people. Why? Because it is there that he can serve as a helpful resource, a helpful guide, a helpful teacher, mentor, for those who are sincerely looking for guidance. Otherwise, if he flies in and flies out, he's not going to be able to have the same impact as someone who is spending time day in and day out with these individuals. So allow me, for each of these 5 titles or responsibilities that these 2 ayahs present, I'm going to just pause and share a few reflections, and also encourage all of you to reflect on what this means in our adoption, construction of this prophetic framework for human building, and where are some opportunities for growth for us. What are the things that we can learn from this prophetic model that maybe we're not applying yet? So, in looking at Inna arsalnaka shahidan, we sent you as a witness. So we said what? Present, observant, active. In our projects of human building, Iman building, whatever you want to call it, I'm not sensitive towards the title that we use. But basically you want to say, I want to live as a believing man and woman, and I want to train, I want to raise a family of believing men and women. How can I do that? What I've received from the prophetic sunnah, I am practicing it. I want to be a witness for my children, for my neighbors, for my community members, for my relatives. So those 3 basic requirements, they offer a lot of food for thought. Number 1, there has to be presence. Any system that we want to build, that we are not incredibly protective over this issue of presence, is probably a system that's going to leave a lot left to be desired. Many of us will feel this frustration, this tension, this difficulty, this tug of war. It is a real one. I want to raise my children to be upstanding Muslims, outstanding Muslims, mu'mineen. How can I facilitate that? Whatever it is, many of us find ourselves in trying to facilitate that, making a trade. And that trade a lot of times means that we can't be present anymore. I have to strive, as the Quran says, for one's family. I have to work hard. But paradoxically, the cost of working hard is what? I can't be there for my children. I want to strive to work hard to build environments, to build spaces, to build institutions. However, the cost of that is what? I cannot be present as much as I want in the institution. So look, there is a conflict that needs to be resolved here. No one is saying that we can circumvent the rules of life, the laws of life. No. Allah has tasked each and every one of us to go and work and earn and try to prepare the plains of our success and that of our family. However, we have to have some points of reflection. Some red flags need to be there. Some alarms need to be there to say, if I'm trying to raise my family, I'm trying to excel myself in that relationship with Allah, if I'm finding that issue of presence to be a real problem, well, I need to go seek consultation, figure out how can I resolve this. Many parents will say, if only there was someone available to be a good role model for my children. What is that statement even saying? What does that statement mean? At the crux of it is what? I wish there were good people to spend more time with my children. At the core of that is what? It's presence. Where are these people? How can I find them? Okay, so that's a problem statement. So these people clearly, they don't grow on trees, as we say. So they have to be solicited, they have to be found, they have to be trained, they have to be developed. And there has to be an investment in what? In the very value of presence. That's the first thing. The second thing is what? There has to be observation. See, the reason any guide, any mentor, any coach is successful is because not only are they there, but they are intentional about their observation of their trainee, about their mentee, about their student, about their child, or whoever. So in addition to just being there, now you're doing the quality of the time that I'm spending with that person. So you're going from face to face. Before you just said, I wish there was someone there. So you go search for it, and let's say for 20 kids, 30 kids, 40 kids, whatever, you find one person or two people. Now at the next stage, you're going to say, I wish my child would get more quality attention. Why? Because if they got more quality attention with that teacher, that mentor, that trainee, that coach, then obviously it'll help them excel more. Why do some parents go and get their kids tutors? Is it because the teacher in the class is bad? Incompetent? Maybe sometimes you may think that. But most of the time it's what? I think my child has more room for growth, more capacity for development, and I'd like to give them what? More personalized attention so they can grow. That's an excellent philosophy and sentiment to have. That's good. But in soul building, in Iman building, that same principle should hold true. What can I do to secure the resources that allow for more quality attention with myself and my children? Now before you know, you say, I need to seek out these resources. And then finally they actually deliver that testimony. Which means what? That means they actually spring into action. They come and say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, belongs to this kind of network, because of course the Quran tells us Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shaheed. He's a witness on all things. And then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, has been instructed, and the mu'mineen also continue, as the Quran says. It's not just the Prophet, he's building a network of people that are doing this. قُلِ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَى اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. So part of that prophetic project is what? Is building that network of other believers that can also participate in that role and that capacity of being a witness, shahid. وَسَتُرَدُّونَ إِلَىٰ عَالِمِ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ فَيُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. So that's the first title that the Quran presents about the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. After this now, you have an individual who is serving as a witness. They're present, they're observant, they're engaged. They have responsibility. They have, a certain number of people that they are responsible for. That means there's a kind of a dual commitment. This person is saying, I want to grow, I want to learn, I want to better myself, and I'm here in my capacity as their teacher, their guide. Now, we get into what should the style of development be? What are some of the methods to be employed to ensure the most efficacious development? Here's where these two, Bashir and Nadir, come in. Mubashiran wa Nadira. Mubashir first means to give glad tidings. A lot of times when the Quran speaks about Mubashir, Bashir, Bishara, it's trying to help the believing peoples, the good peoples, understand that there is going to be a reward for them for their good actions, and that Allah will not waste their actions. They will be recompensed and will be rewarded accordingly. So in saying that, what is that individual doing? When they are Bashir or Mubashir, they're telling the mentee, they're telling the student, they're telling the person who's journeying, this is not all in vain. There's a truth here, there's a reality here, there's a process here that many before you have already gone. If you can only learn to understand and then trust the process, you too will also bear those same results. So an instructor, a teacher that sits in a class and is trying to teach a student the foundations of, let's say, mathematics. The student may say, well, I don't like this. I don't think it's beneficial. It's too hard. It's not fun. Ultimately, the teacher says what? No, this is something that's good for you. If you learn this skill, it will allow you to do A, B, C, and D. These are things that will be desirable to you. If you can just trust me that this is good for you, I promise that you will reap a reward, that you will also turn around and say, this is something that I value. However, that person may not be there yet. That child may not be there yet. So they have to trust the person who's training them. So, Bishara is the style that's used. It's a strategy that's used to help motivate an individual. Not only to embark on the journey to begin with, but also to remain firm, to remain consistent, to try to keep their eyes on the prize when those difficult moments come, to manifest sabr, because ultimately they know that what they will gain through this persistence, through this training, is something that is better for them, and it is something that they will also recognize it being better for them in due time. So Allah does not leave that a mystery. This is clarified, it is described, so a person can look forward to that result. If a person is training with a coach to run faster, the coach is telling him, listen, you have to do these things, you have to do these stretches, you have to do these preparations, you can't do these things. I promise you, if your mile is, let's say, 14 minutes right now, I'm going to get you to run an 8-minute mile. But you have to do the things that I'm telling you. And look, see your peers. This person's running an 8-minute mile, that person's running an 8-minute mile, this person's running a 6-minute mile. You can do it too. I see it within you, the capacity. Trust me, trust that process. So the coach encourages them. They don't tell them, now just run and we'll see what happens. No. They're instilling a confidence. And that confidence, that drive, that hunger, that thirst is what's going to push them to continue on that project. So there has to be an appreciation for the person, the trainee, the mentee, seeing those things. Look, this is a person that's 3 or 4 steps ahead of you. This is a person that's a few stages ahead of you. Here's a graduate. This is what they look like. This is what they can do. This is why it's valuable. And so the creation of community of ummah, the establishment of a network of those who are a part of the program and have graduated from the program, let's say we call them the Sahaba, they're there for what? As a source of motivation for all of those who are in the system. So the coach, the trainer, the guide is there to help instill that trust, that confidence. And so if a person has it, they'll commit themselves. When people came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he was selling to them. He was helping them accept the fact that should they commit themselves to this plan, they will reap these rewards. And our hadith literature is full of these examples and full of these statements that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says, if a person does 1, 2, 3, and 4, I will guarantee them this. If a person does this, person gives sadaqah, they will never, for example, go poor. Person gives sadaqah, their life will be prolonged. Or if a person is able to control their tongue, a person is able to control their hands, a person is able to control their feet, then I will guarantee for them paradise. If a person is able to be protective over their prayer and pray when the prayer time first comes in, I will assure them paradise. This is the Prophet doing what? This is a Prophet giving those assurances, bishara, the glad tidings, the good news of something a person will earn through their commitment, through their conviction, through their consistency in the program. And so let's pause here again for a moment of reflection. When we are constructing programs of helping develop mu'mineen, mu'minat, for ourselves, for our children, for our families, those who are important to us, larger community, we have to make sure that we have some sort of an infrastructure that allows for the appreciation of those things. If your child right now is in a state where, we live in a marketplace of ideas, of worldviews, of lifestyles, there are so many promises that are being given for not just a younger person, but especially a younger person. They're early in their stage in life. They have more hope to live a long life and to benefit. So if there are all these things that are being promised to them, then what? Obviously, it's important for us to be able to support them in their journeying towards being good servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be good followers of the sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. We need to make sure that what? That they heard the glad tidings that are coming, that they know what they are, that they can appreciate them, they can see them, they can feel them, that they're tangible, that there are examples there for them. This is important. Yes, the Quran speaks of this worldly and otherworldly good glad tidings, good news. That's fine. The rewards are this worldly and otherworldly. But they need to be there. And when we help them see that, then the person gets what? The person gets encouraged. They took one step, they received something. They took another step, they were rewarded with something. They took so the person is now working. It's almost like a type of a gamification to help encourage a young person or a person who is journeying on this path to remain focused and not to be distracted or enticed by some of these other gifts and rewards that they can earn. Because ultimately, the choice that a person makes is between good and bad or between good and better. So sometimes the Quran says, don't do this. This is not good for you. This is unhealthy for you. This will create imbalance in your life. Stay away from it. Though you may find some temporary pleasure, there may be some utility in it, but abandon this. This is not good for you. يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما. There may be some things that you as a child, a Muslim, you may be drawn towards, or maybe society is telling you that there's something pleasurable here, there's something desirable here, there's some good reward here should you commit yourself to it. Quran says no, there are better things. And me as a father, me as also a mentor, a guide, a teacher, I have to help that individual understand that. So this is mubashiran, to give glad tidings. The Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, all of them, they had such effective strategies to help people remain committed, encouraged, and consistent in their journey. So for us also, we need to think about that. When we're creating these systems, really can we confidently say that we have also created a system that allows for the demonstration of these rewards and also the encouragement of these rewards, so that our children can also follow suit. وَنَذِيرًا, number 3. Let's recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, Quran begins by telling the Prophet, if this is an order, first strategy, dominant strategy, is to encourage, to give them good news. That should they do these things, these are the benefits that are going to reward. reap. But also there needs to be what? There needs to be nadhiran, a warner. A warner here is not to scare away. A warner here is to tell a truth. Is to tell a truth. You know, my son or my daughter, it is your choice. If you want to sit in your room and play video games for 10 hours a day, it's your choice. Although I don't think most parents are going to give them that option, but let's say, as a thought experiment. But at the end of the day, it's not good for you. You may have fun today, but you're not going to have fun tomorrow. Right? So this is not an intelligent choice, a smart choice, a wise choice. But should you choose to do it, then you will also have to, what? Not suffer the consequences. You'll have to deal with you'll have to live with the consequences. So there's no compulsion, but there's a choice that's presented, and that choice is a clear choice. It's not that there's ambiguity. We don't know, go down this path, maybe, go down that path, maybe. No. There's clarity. That's why the Quran speaks about itself and about the message that is presented as mubin. It is clear. It is not confusing. It is clear. These are the paths that are available to you. Should you go down this path, these are the things that you're going to achieve. And if you go down any of these other paths, that's what's going to await you. No, it's your choice. If you've decided you want to live your life this way, that's going to lead to some outcome, okay. It is, let's say, your God-given gift, your God-given choice, your freedom of choice. You're allowed to choose. But you also have to understand that you have to live with those consequences. Right, so nadhir here is what? Is to serve the role of warning, but a warning that's happening coupled with what? With an explanation, an exposition of what will happen should a person decide not to do the things that they're encouraged to do. And our tradition is filled with these things too. If a person does something that is bad, wrong, not becoming, these are the outcomes, these are the effects, these are the consequences. And should a person abandon something they should do, these are the consequences. So this warning is a warning that is coupled with knowledge. It is not to scare. The more compassionate way, which the prophetic model was a compassionate model, was to try and encourage people. When you have two choices and one is better than the other, why choose the lower one? So sometimes companions would come to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and would request certain things. No, of course the Prophet serves as an important connection. So sometimes people would come and say, I'm having this struggle, I'm having that struggle, I'm sick, I'm ill. There's one example that the Quran speaks about, that a man came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and asked, I'm really struggling financially. I really wish I was financially independent, or I was successful, I was affluent, I was wealthy, whatever. Can you make dua for me? Now remember, we're speaking about nadhir. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, tells him, don't you like to follow the same path that I follow? As Allah's my witness, I am in a position that should I make dua, Allah will turn the mountains that you see here into gold for me. So I can become an incredibly wealthy man with a dua that I make. And I don't do it selfishly. I don't do it because I have attachment to dunya. But I have that choice. I can do that. But I choose not to. Wouldn't you like to just kind of follow my path? So he's saying, see the sunnah, the example that I set for you? This is probably better for you. I advise you against becoming wealthy. Why is the Prophet saying that? It's not because he's stingy, that he says, if you become wealthy, then you'll be... No. The Prophet knows that value, status is not derived from wealth. It's derived from what? Inna akramakum inda Allah atqakum. Taqwa. But he knows for this individual, to go down that path is not in his best interest or in the best interest of his family. So what does the Prophet do? He warns him. He's not saying that becoming wealthy is bad. He's just saying this is not a path that is conducive to your spiritual development, your spiritual building. Don't go down this path. The man thinks about it and he leaves. He comes again and he makes the same request. In some accounts it's a second time, third time. In any event, he is insistent. So again, he has a freedom of choice. The Prophet has already given him instruction and he's already warned him. Prophet makes dua. So the man becomes wealthy. He has a few assets, some goats, now they multiply, get some camels, So now his assets grow. So that small little house that he had in the city center in Medina, that allowed him to do what? That allowed him to attend all 5 daily prayers. That allowed him to do what? To engage mu'mineen on a daily basis. That allowed him to do what? Visit other mu'mineen, visit the ill, all these things. He was present, he was active, he was engaged. Now he didn't have enough room, so he had to go a little bit outside of the city. So he went to the first suburb out of the city center. So this dua of the Prophet continued to bear fruit. So now he becomes wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Before he knows it, even that suburb is not enough for him. But at least while he was in the suburb, the next town over, he could still make it for Dhuhr and Asr prayer daily. So he couldn't come 5 times a day, but he was still coming once a day. He was still seeing people. He was still interacting. He was still a member. But now his wealth grew, so he has to even go further out. So when he goes further out, what happens? Now the commute is too long, too difficult. There's traffic. He's tired. He has a full day's work. Now instead of being able to attend daily for salat, now he can only go for once for the Jum'ah prayer, once a week. And he becomes more and more and more and more engaged before he doesn't even attend the Jum'ah anymore. So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, after a while asks, where is this person? So he became incredibly wealthy and he's busy. Ya Rasulullah, he's busy. Good person, he's busy. So the time for collection of zakat comes around. I don't know if it was April 15th, whatever. The tax man came to collect the zakat. So in his initial request to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he said, I wish I could be wealthy so I could also help other people. You see how I'm less fortunate? If I become wealthy one day, I'm going to help all the people like me. Right? Sounds like a lot of the things that many of us sincerely believe in. These were our aspirations, our goals too. I want to work really hard, so when I become wealthy, I can help other people. Alhamdulillah, Allah facilitate that for us. So they said, collect the zakat, and all of a sudden, he feels like the zakat does not apply to him. Now, I don't know the full story of whether he, not this much, not that much, he found some sort of a loophole, whatever. The Quran speaks of it this way. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ عَاهَدَ اللَّهِ لَإِنْ أَتَانَا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ لَنَصَدَّقَنَّ وَلَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. It says, amongst you are those people that they said, and they gave a promise, they gave an oath, shall Allah give from His grace, His mercy, His blessing to us, then we shall surely give sadaqah, and we shall be of the good ones, the ones who do good works. فَلَمَّا أَتَاهُمْ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ بَخِلُوا بِهِ. Whenever we delivered, he became wealthy, they became stingy. وَتَوَلَّوْا, and turned away, وَهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. فَأَعْقَبَهُمْ نِفَاقًا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ يَلْقَوْنَهُ بِمَا أَخْلَفُ اللَّهِ مَا وَعَدُوهُ وَبِمَا كَانُوا يَكْذِبُونَ. So Allah said, what happened? فَأَعْقَبَهُمْ نِفَاقًا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. We caused a hypocrisy to ensue in their heart until the day that they will encounter Allah, the day of judgment, because of the fact that they had reneged. They promised one thing and they went back on their promise. Okay, we were speaking about nadir. See, when the Prophet is warning this person, he's saying, I know the outcome of this action. I know what path you're going down and what's going to happen. If you had just trusted me, you wouldn't have found yourself in this position. So see, now when it comes to receiving mentorship and guidance, remember we said it's personalized, individualized. A person really wants to have access to an individual that will help them even in this detail. Should I do this or should I do that? On the face of it, it looks good. But that guidance, that hidayah, is helping a person even traverse these difficult decisions. Only the sharper eye is able to see these things. Now, a lot of us as parents, as elders, and may Allah preserve our elders and those who have those life experiences and have gained those wisdoms. They look sometimes to younger people and they say, don't do this. It's not in your best interest to do that. Now, is it possible that they're speaking of their own whim and ego? Yes, but generally that's not the case. Or one would hope that's not the case. We trust them. We respect them. So why are they saying these things? Because they can foresee. They can see 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road. And so to those who have what? Who have graduated or have been trained in this system, they know. So as a point of reflection, Nadir, to warn, we have amongst us, and we're hoping to build frameworks that allow for us to also provide this type of guidance, direction, strategic guidance, strategic direction. These are our needs as a family, as a community, as an ummah, so we start strategically working towards satisfying those things. Otherwise, what will happen if we don't receive that and we go down this path? We'll have to live with the consequences. If everyone becomes an engineer and no one becomes a physician, when someone from the community becomes ill, now we're what? There's liability here. We can't support one another. If everyone becomes a physician and no one becomes an engineer, when we need engineering support, we can't help it. If all of us go towards what? The dunyawi, and we don't have enough that are dedicated towards what? Building the spiritual capacities, realizing the spiritual capacities of the community, what's going to happen? We're going to have to live with the consequences. And what are those consequences? Those basic lamenting of, oh, how I wish we could do this, and that. Oh, how I wish generation after generation after generation would be trained here and would flourish here. Instead of, where are all the youth? Where are all the next generation? That is a type of an ibrah. It's a type of a lesson to understand what? Having to live with and grapple with the consequences of our decisions. So Nadir helps us see those things. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we have 2 more. I'm going to try to be very efficient with my time. Perhaps we can revisit this at another time, inshallah. Inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira. So he said, a person who's a witness, they both are giving motivation, good news, promise of reward, promise of growth, and also warning them from making poor choices. وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِإِذْنِهِ. And you are someone who is calling to or summoning towards Allah بِإِذْنِهِ, with Allah's authority, with Allah's permission. I'll be very brief here. Even in the construction of a network that is, let's say, spiritually facing, religiously facing, morally facing, it doesn't mean that that is also immune to what? Immune to certain perversions. Now, this is not to cast, let's say, a doubt or suspicion, but let's say in the larger world that we're living in, there are a lot of people, a lot of institutions, a lot of organizations that are saying, we are the stewards of truth and justice, and let's say peace on the earth, like the Quran speaks about. There's some of them that say, we are the good ones. So, when they call towards goodness, towards peace, towards justice, towards spirituality, are they calling towards Allah? Or sometimes are they calling towards some other things that they have caricatured, alayadu billah, that they have just used the superficial language of worship or of servitude to Allah, but really they're moving people in different directions. At least in, let's say, a case that is not nefarious, what happens? You have individuals, you have institutions, you have groups, you have peoples, maybe with full sincerity, because they are not themselves in a position of qualification, which means in this program they haven't sufficiently graduated or advanced yet. Now out of the goodness of their heart they want to come and be of service to others. What happens? If they don't know how to, da'iyan ilallah, all of a sudden they take people with the promise of we're moving towards Allah, but they end up in other places. Right? And the examination of the movement of Imam Hussein ﷺ was just this. You have a lot of people that are calling towards Allah or claiming that they're calling towards Allah, but they're ending in all these dangerous places. So simply the calling towards a truth, let's say with a lowercase t, that itself is not enough. There has to be a certain confidence, a trust that a person is calling towards something, they're actually calling towards Allah, truly. And so there are 2 points of, I think, kind of reflection here. Number one, the Quran tells us, be wary when you are putting yourself in the hands of someone or something that is claiming to take you to Allah. Make sure that at least you can verify that they have a certain belief or a certain value. They demonstrate a certain sort of commitment to that. So one extreme example, Quran says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O believing community, la tattakhidhu alladhina ittakhadhu dinakum huzuwan wa la'iban min alladhina utul kitaba min qablikum wal kuffara awliya. Obviously, it goes without saying, but you should not choose individuals who take your religion as something that is a play, that is, derision, that is a joke. Don't take these people to be your leaders. To be what? To be architects and engineers of the way that you live your life. They should not be the ones that are setting up life plans for you. That should be setting up culture for you. No, don't do that. You should know that they don't value any of these things. They may say it, but they don't value it, and their actions show that this is just a game for them. So I don't say this because I'm trying to make the point of they have infiltrated our messages. I'm not saying that. But once we step out of these spaces, these sacred spaces, who really right now is leading the way in at least getting a seat at the table of organizing, architecting, engineering the way that Muslim community should be living? We have to be mindful, careful, precise. Even if there are not solutions that we feel like are right now the right solutions, at least we should be deriving solutions and be looking for inspiration and creativity and problem solving from the right places. So this is a real kind of important point, especially for younger people that may not know this. Their study of history, whether it's in a Quranic sense or whether it's in a non-Quranic sense, they should be mindful of this basic fact. And we can also take for granted, because it's such an effective strategy, that yes, those who take your religion, our religion, as play and as derision, they are also creating their pseudo-forms of Islam. An Islam that is pacified. An Islam that gets a person consumed with some things that are good and important, some practices, some rituals, but forgets maybe some other things. And some are more important than the other. Especially within our tradition, because we have that reminder and revival from the Husayni message, we know that we should not fall prey to that. What irony would there be that even amongst that group, we still are putting stock in people's institutions, of organizations, of governments, that the truth of the matter is they look at these things as play and derision. So that's the first thing. The second thing is within, internally, those people who are they are not outsiders but insiders. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, tells us that be also mindful of who you sit to learn from, who you choose as a guide and a mentor. Any person that says, I can guide, I can train, I can develop, just because a person's making that claim doesn't mean that you should respond to them positively. لا تجلسوا عند كل داع مداع يدعوكم من اليقين إلى الشك. Just because a person says that I am providing religious guidance, it doesn't mean that you and your family, you should take them there and say, okay, now you show us, you lead us, So the claim itself is not enough. And the Prophet says, be wary, because these types of peoples, what's going to happen? They're going to take you from a state of certainty into a state of suspicion, of doubt. That means the basics that you already knew, what are they going to come? They're going to come and even destroy those things. وَمِنَ الْإِخْلَاصِ إِلَى الرِّيَاءِ. And from that sincerity, that purity to riya, from showing off. وَمِنَ التَّوَاضُعِ إِلَى الْكِبْرِ. And from that humility to boastfulness and pride. وَمِنَ النَّصِيحَةِ إِلَى الْعَدَاوَةِ. And from good counsel to enmity. وَمِنَ الزُّهْدِ إِلَى الرَّغْبَةِ. And from abstinence to desire. So you can see it's almost like an inversing. If you're not careful, if you don't go to the person who is qualified, and I say qualified meaning that they are a product of this prophetic system, they have graduated, Others have also signed off on this person. Yes, this person has gone through the program. We know both from their knowledge and both from their action. This person is dependable. This person is trustworthy. This person is capable. Then you sit with them and you allow for them to support you in that journeying of better yourself. وتقربوا إلى عالم يدعوكم إلى التواضع من الكبر ومن الرياء إلى الإخلاص ومن الشك إلى اليقين ومن الرغبة إلى الزهد ومن العداوة إلى النصيحة ولا يصلح لموعدة الخلق إلا من جاوز هذه الآفات. The Prophet said, no one is suitable for that position. It's not about putting anyone down. It's just so everyone has their place. I cannot teach something to someone that I don't know. If I am ignorant of something, all I will do to the person that's trying to learn is confuse them. I will just compound their ignorance. Imagine I don't know math and I'm trying to teach math to a child. I'm just going to confuse them even more. They're going to be worse at math had they not sat in my class. Yes, my brother and my sister, there's something to be said about demand, but there's also an appreciation for supply. A warning, be careful not to go down this path. To create a demand of, we have a need for someone to come and teach us, and because there's so much demand, now you're creating a supply that is not qualified to do so. So what happens? You have to live with the consequences. Now all of a sudden you turn around and ask, how come I'm also not becoming closer? I'm not, kind of compounding my iman. I'm not strengthening my iman. Why do I feel like everything is still the same, even though we receive all? Because the person that was there was not what? Qualified. The person was not what? A graduate. The person was not what? Approved. So وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِإِذْنِهِ. So this point, first is there is an assurance that they're pointing to Allah. They're not pointing to other things. And ulama, those who are actually practitioners, true practitioners, they have told us, they tell us that some of these things are incredibly sensitive. Yeah, maybe the first few steps are clear, but all of a sudden you get to the next stage and if a person's not qualified, what happens? It becomes a danger. بِإِذْنِهِ, with that authority then. So there's some sort of a system that ensures that people that are suitable for this teaching, for this training, are in those positions. And finally, what? وَسِرَاجًا مُنِيرًا. If this person wants to be a successful coach, mentor, trainer, guide, not only do they need to have the theory, right? Shahid, Bashir, Nadir, Da'i, they also need to be a practitioner themselves. Not only do they need to be a practitioner, they need to be so successful in their practice that anyone and everyone that comes and interacts with them can see it. That was the character of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. That even when his enemies came, they can see that there's something special and unique here. So we are in search of these things. They're available to us. And we also aspire as a part of our progress in this system to also become a radiant lamp. Maybe not to the extent that the Prophet, peace and blessings was, or the Al-Bayt alayhi salam was, but to our own extent. There has to be some nur. That nur is now what? Enlightening others around them so they can serve as a guide. A teacher, a mentor for a next generation needs to be someone that themselves are what? They have become enlightened through the development, through the progress, through the achievements of their own, and they can serve as an example and a model for other people. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who continue to appreciate the role, the value, and the service of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to his nation and to our community, and make us of those who are committed towards understanding and following and preserving and proliferating that prophetic sunnah, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's recite a few minutes musibah, remembering this tragic event that was very difficult for Ahlul Bayt. Assalamu alayka ya Abul Qasim, يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. When our beloved messenger was in his final days, in those final moments, as he laid in his deathbed, he called for his companions, his loved ones, his family to surround him. He delivered his final messages, final admonitions. He consoles them. He prays for them. He makes dua for them. He comforts them as they are grieving. He can see these moments are difficult. These moments are especially difficult, not just for family, but those who were raised by the Prophet, who spend every moment with him. They were not just members of family, but students. They know as the Prophet departs this world, there will be no one to replace him. They will be left alone. Our Lady Fatima Salamullah alayha, in many instances would come to the side of her father. She would weep and lament. The father would console her. At moments he would say things to calm her. In one of those instances before his demise, Rasulullah instructed Fatima to come near. He whispered something in her ear. A rare smile forms on the face of Our Lady. But after the demise of the Prophet, as Lady Fatima has to come to the grave of her beloved father, she grieves once again, a grieving that does not cease until her own death. As she would come to the grave of the Prophet, she would cry loud, "My dearest father, رفعت قوتي وخانني جلدي. My strength has parted away from me, my patience has left me. وشمت بي عدوي والكمد قاتلي. I have turned restless, my dearest father, but for some reason my enemies rejoice. I fear that my grief will kill me. Ya Abata, my dearest father, بقيت والها وحيدا." As she throws her body on the grave of her father, loses consciousness, she is helped to awaken. She cries again, "My beloved father, I have been left alone. وحيرانة فريدة, I have been left in this perplexion. فقد انخمد صوتي وانقطع ظهري. I have been left without aid. My voice has become silent. My back is broken. وتناقص عيشي وتكدر دهري. My life has been overturned. It has become darkened. فما أجد يا أبتا بعدك أنيسا لوحشتي. My father, how can you leave me after you? I find no companion in these times of fright. ولا رادا لدمعتي ولا معينا لضعفي. I find no one to console me, neither to stop my tears, nor to support me in the times of weakness. This is how Lady Fatima expressed her grief in the passing of her father. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, as the Prophet was departing this world, وَلَقَدْ قُبِضَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَإِنَّ رَأْسَهُ لَعَلَى صَدْرِي. His head was in my lap, his head was in my chest. وَلَقَدْ صَالَتْ نَفْسُهُ فِي كَفِّي. As he was breathing his last breaths over my palms. فَأَمَرْتُهَا عَلَى وَجْهِي. I passed it over my face. I was the one that performed the ghusl for his body. The angels supported me. The house and the courtyard was full of them. This is how the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, departed this world with great grief and lament from his family. But in that state of grief, he still had his loved ones surrounding him. He still had a respect that was paid to him. His loved ones were still allowed to grieve, undisturbed and respected. But there was also a moment where the beloved of Rasulullah is also departing from this world, but his family is not allowed to surround him. Instead, who is surrounding him? Assalamu ala nazihin ala al-awtan. They are not surrounded by their loved ones in their city. No. Assalamu ala al-madfunina bila akfan. Amir al-Mu'mineen, you prepared the burial of your beloved messenger, but salutations upon those bodies that were buried without shrouds. Assalamu ala al-ru'us al-mufarraqati an al-abdan. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, the head of your beloved was in your chest, in your palms, but there was also other beloveds who their heads were not in the chest of their loved ones. Rather, those enemies sat on their chest as they severed their heads, that trampled their bodies, destroyed their bodies. Assalamu ala al-abdan as-saliba. Peace be upon those plundered bodies. Assalamu ala al-itrati al-qariba. Peace upon the family and the children who are nearby. Assalamu ala al-mujallidina fil falawat. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 ना महमिल है ना हादज है ना लश्कर की वो सज धज है ना सर पे अलम ना चादर है अल्लाह ये कैसा मंजर है मुसाफिरान मुसीबत वतन में आते हैं मुसाफिरान سفر سے آتے ہیں سوغات درد لاتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں یا سلام و محمد کے آستانے کو کٹا کے آئے ہیں زہرا کے سب گھرانے کو نہ کر قبول تو ہم بے قصوں کے آنے کو یہ نوح کرتے ہیں اور اشک خون بہاتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مدینہ ہم تیرے والی کو آئے ہیں کھو کر مدینہ کوفے میں سرننگے ہم پھرے در در مدینہ داغ رسن ہے ہمارے شانوں پر اٹھا کے ہاتھ مدینے کو یہ سناتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں ہر ایک قدم ہے بکا کب لبوں پہ بین نہیں ہم آئے زندہ پا زہرا کا نور عین نہیں مدینہ اکبر و قاسم نہیں حسین نہیں یہ کیسے کیسے جوان تھے جو یاد آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مدینے والوں کہو اس بہن کی کیا تقدیر جو دیکھے اپنے برادر کے حلق پر شمشیر لہو میں غرق جو دیکھے حسین کی تصویر لہو میں کیا یوں ہی باری کا سر دکھاتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران بتاؤ کہتے ہیں کیا سب اس اماں جائی کو جو اربعین تلک دے کفن نہ بھائی کو بہن دکھائے گی منہ کس طرح خدائی کو کفن دیا ہے نہ ان کی لحد بناتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت مسافران مصیبت چلا بشیر یہ دیتا ہوا خبر ہر جا مگر محلہ ہاشم میں دیکھتا ہے کیا کہ ایک مریضہ سرے راہ ہے کھڑی تنہا ہے منتظر کہ وہ کنبے کے لوگ آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران خبر یہ پھیلی تو ماتم ہر ایک گھر میں ہوا نکل نکل پڑی سب عورت برہنہ پا گری زمین پہ سغرا کے اس پہ چرخ گرا جو سوگوار ہے سغرا کے پاس آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں فضائے درد مل کر اداسیاں آئیں سفر سے لٹ کے ادھر بھوکی پیاسیاں آئیں اٹھو رسول تمہاری نواسیاں آئیں کہ خود کو اونٹوں سے اہل حرم گراتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت مسافران مصیبت جو آئی کانوں میں آواز بانوئے مزدر کہا ہو اے میرے والی امام جن و بشر تڑپ کے رہ گئی سغرا ہوا بپا محشر کبیر بس کے اب افلاک تھر تھراتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں سفر سے آتے ہیں سوغات درد لاتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں مسافران مصیبت وطن میں آتے ہیں حسین حسین
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد متوجہ زیارت
السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام على 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الجواد السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري السلام عليك يا حجة الله يا صاحب العصر والزمان الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه السلام عليكم يا سادتي يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته اللهم صل